Welcome everybody. This is Jason and the name of this week's workshop is Positive Thinking Part 4. This is all about making couple poses. And I guess if you apply it, you could also apply the principles to make 3 sim poses or 4 sim poses or great big group poses, but this is the basic concept. So let's begin. If you use custom body shapes, you'll need to create a posing template so that you can create custom poses. For example, if you use Maxis AM, that's good and well. You can create, using the basic male posing template, you can create poses accurately for Maxis AM. But what if you use BB, or what if you use HBB? If you create a pose based on Maxis AM and you apply that pose to BB, there's going to be some clipping. So if we're using bigger body shapes, we need to first build a custom template. To begin to do that, we would open the clothing mesh, or in this example, I'm using an underwear mesh. We open that in SimPE. We select the GMDC in the resource tree and in the resource list. Then we right-click on the resource list and select Extract from the drop-down. We save the 5GD wherever we're working on our projects. From there, we open Milkshape and we open the correct template gender for the body shape. So in this case, we're making a male template. We would open the male animation template. Then we would select all of the vertices below the neck seam and delete those. So we've just got from the head up, from the neck seam up. Then we go import, Unimesh, or Sims 2 Unimesh import, and then we will import the 5GD that we extracted from SimPE. You're going to get 3 pop-ups. The first one says, if you import over another model, results may be unreliable. Do you want to continue? On that one, you click OK. Then on the second one, do you want to include additional bone definitions? For this one, it's very important that you select no. Always select no. And create blend groups. This is the morphs. We don't need the morphs, so we just click no. And then in the groups tab, this is not necessary, but it's something that I like to do. We select both groups. We click that regroup button, and then we rename it something, just to make sure that when you're working with the poses, this has a name distinct from any other models that you're using. Articulating the poses. So articulate the pose for your first sim as you normally would. In this case, I'm starting off with my custom HBB template because the model sim that I'm using is HBB. You set the keyframe, you save it as a Milkshape file as you normally would, and you export the ANIM as you normally would. With the pose still open, select File, Export, Wavefront Object, and export to your project folder. The sim is still posed. It's probably going to give you a pop-up that, are you sure that you want to export this? Just click yes and export it as an object. Next, open the pose template for your second sim. Exit animation mode, and then go File, Import Wavefront Object, and import the template that we made. So now we see that the first sim has been imported as an object. That's not going anywhere. You can use that as a guideline to pose the second sim. So in this case, we just rough in the second sim based on the first sim's position, articulate, bend all the fingers really nice, and we save, and we export the ANIM, and we can now build both poses. Open up your Milkshape, like so, and the first step, let's build that custom template. So go ahead and open up the male template. I've already extracted the 5GD, but I included this step just in case you need it. Okay, so we have our male template. In Model tab, we go to Select, and we just grab all of the vertices below the next seam. All we want to save is a head. Delete. Then we go File, Import, Sims to Unimesh Import version 4.09. If you import over another model, results may be unreliable. Do you want to continue? Okay. Do you want to include additional bone definitions? No. Let's go ahead and grab this. It's asking create blend groups? No. So just like that, now we have an HBB template. Select that group, regroup, and I'm just going to call this HBB, rename, and let's save our file. We save it as HBB animation, and now we're ready to articulate our poses. So we enter animation mode, and I'm going to start with the legs because I have kind of a cool idea for this pose, but you can do, we're not in animation mode. We go into animation mode, so we should be able to select vertices now. You can see that it's in animation mode because the vertices are all just a wireframe. Select left eye, rotate, make sure that we're on local. And I'm going to move his legs about shoulder width apart. So he's bending slightly at the knee, as you normally would when you lift something heavy. Then we select the trans joint. We go to move, and we isolate the Z, so we're only moving up and down. Okay, so his toes are a little bit buried on the horizon there. So we hop back to the foot joint. We go back to rotate. And let's zoom in on the side viewport so we can see what's going on. Rotate just like so. The soles of his feet are a little bit buried, but I really don't think you're going to notice this. Okay, so he's standing about shoulder, with his feet about shoulder width apart. Now let's pose the right arm. Yeah, it's starting to do something funky with the shoulder. I don't dig that. That's better. Roll this hand back a bit. Maybe bend it that way so it's not at such an unnatural angle. And we mess with the thumb. The thumbs are always wrong. Don't worry if you don't get it right. The thumb always takes fine tuning. I'm not going to roll it. I'm just going to splay it open a little bit. Then we close the finger joints, or the 1 and 2 joints on the thumb. And then we close the finger joint so he's not doing kung fu hands. And then we move on to the left arm. And this is just rough. It's really going to be trial and error with this one because we might need to come back and repose this depending on the second sim. No, don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Want to move it back a little bit. And then let's make the fingers look more natural. We'll bend them up just a little bit. And I think that's a little too high. And let's go back to the right arm and maybe drop it down a little. Roll it back. And move the forearm. Well, move the forearm back a little bit. So it's not perfectly symmetrical, but real people, real humans are not perfectly symmetrical when they stand anyway, so I think we're good. Make sure to save it. Then we go File, Export, Wavefront Object. Just call it HBB Pose 1 for now. Now let's open the female template. We exit animation mode, File, Import, Wavefront Object, and we grab HBB Pose. Now we enter animation mode. Now let's start with root rot. So we need to rotate this sim a little bit, right? So we're going to do that. Then we grab the transpose, or I'm sorry, the trans joint, root trans. Yeah, we just want to move her up a bit. Maybe rotate the rotation joint just a little bit more. And we need to go back to root trans and scoot her back because she's not quite where she needs to be. And she's still clipping into his head, so we need to go way back. We need to go back to about there. Okay, now let's mess with her legs. I'm still on move. I think I need to... that looks kind of crazy. We just want it so that her thigh isn't completely clipping into his shoulder.
Looks like he's wrestling her.
Kinda, yeah.
They're out of the ring.
Okay, there. Nope, that's not quite right. And remember, the female model is Rio, so her thighs are actually going to be a little bit thicker. So I want just a tiny bit of daylight between her thigh and his shoulder. No? Why isn't it rotating right? We want it so the back of her knee. Well, that's not it. Or the back of her thigh is just in front of his fingers. So that's about right. Now that thigh it looks wrong. It's twisted up too high. Well, we might have to live with that. Take her calf out just a bit so it's not clipping into his forearm. I think we need to twist her spine a little bit, yeah?
Was painful.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's just gravity, you know?
I know.
I think I had to move the trans joint a little bit because her body is up just a bit too high now. About there. See, now that her leg is down, it's not quite clipping into his shoulder. Okay, so we need to fix the leg. It can be a bit tedious, but sometimes you have to go back and repose something that you already posed.
Yeah.
Maybe if we rotate that like so. Yeah, and it's not an exact science. Posing, you have to test it, try to make as natural a pose as you can, and yeah, then go back and sometimes you have to go back and repose. Nah, it needs to go that way. Yeah. Let's take her spine one. Nope, too far.
Um,
That's not quite what I wanted to do.
okay.
See how her shoulder is kind of at a bizarre angle? In this case, you rarely use the clavicle joints, but in this case, you might need to rotate the clavicle just so that it's not putting so much stress on the upper arm. Yeah, see, that looks a lot more natural. And we will move her forearm in a bit. And mess with her hand. And we just move the little digits.
Okay.
And I guess we can. Her neck is wrong. So let me finish this pose and we will have a look at the issue. If you're doing a pose where one sim is touching the other sim's head, you might need to leave a little bit of space because right, they're
Um,
not bald.
yeah.
The hair mesh is going to
Yeah,
take
that's
up
a
a
good
little
idea.
space. So, if you don't want it to just completely clip into the head, give yourself a little space. We're almost there, and then we'll have a look at Air Razor's issue. You just articulate all the little digits. So I think it needs to go down, just the fingers need to go down just a bit more. I don't love that thumb. Let's take the thumb down. See, and that looks more like that's going to look more natural. Call that one carried. And see, we've got an issue now because his forearm there is not quite supporting her head. See, I just roughed it in first. So we're going to need to go back and repose the HBB. So we delete the HBB, and now we export this pose as an object. And now we're outside of animation mode, and we import the female pose as an object. Then we enter animation mode. And now we just need to nudge his, not the entire shoulder. The shoulder's in a pretty good position relatively, just from the forearm up, I think. So let's grab his forearm. And we might need to move the shoulder up a bit.
Oh, well. I have a question.
Yes.
When I was doing my female pose, before I exported the wavefront object, I hid the big body guy, but I should have deleted it, shouldn't have? Because now, like, when I import the wavefront object, I get both of them.
Right, yeah. Yes, I would recommend just go back into the pose right quick, delete the male template, and export only the female template as an object.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's just not quite where it needs to be. It needs to go up just a little bit more. And then we just nudge the hand. Well, now the forearm can actually do some of the work. Now we nudge the hand. And because she's going to have hair too, you don't want it flush up against the head. You want it like out a little bit, yeah. Unless you know your sim is completely bald, and then yeah, you would go flush with the head, but that is not the case for either of the models that I'm working with. So let's just take it out just a bit. That looks fairly good. Now, let's export both as ANIMs.
Getting something good here, but it's taking a while.
So we open the test pose box once again, clone one of the ANIMs, we replace, and add the ANIMs that we just extracted, and we clone again, and we replace again. Then we do a fixed integrity operation. That's tools, object tools, fixed integrity. And grab your trusty notepad. Or if you can remember the names of your poses, then just type them from memory. We go down to the STR in the resource tree. Select ANIM's adult in the resource list. And we just go down to the first one that says placeholder. And we paste. Then we grab the second one and we paste it in the second available line. We commit. We go to behaves. Sort the instance value by descending. And we look at the first open pose. And I'm just going to call this one HBB lifting. And AF carried. We just change the name, the description in the file name for each so that when we look at it in the T tab, we can see that it's a unique pose. Then we move to the T-task. Select the T-task in the resource tree, the T-task in the resource list, and we look for that first empty space. Couple lifting. And couple carried. Just like that. Then we have a look at the T-tab. And I don't have those, so I need to add those. So we select the first, or the last pose before the face overlays. We add that. We change the string to line 9. And we change the behave to 1009. Then we add again. And remember, these are hex values, so after 9 would come A. So we change the string to A. And we change the behave to 1000A. And because I like to keep things nice and neat, I'm moving these above the face overlays. Then we just commit, save, and we're ready to test. So now, to test the pose, we stack both of our sims on the same tile. And we play the male pose. That's interesting.
That's some clipping.
And then we play the female pose. Let's get them some expressions.
Nice.
So they're not completely stone-faced. And there you go. It might need a little bit of fine-tuning, but mostly works, and that's how you would make a couple pose.